work, this idea of how do we pray? How do we pray for what is it that we want to have happen? I mean, for example, we pray for someone who is sick and we ask for their return to health. Well, in Greg Braden's teaching, what he talks about is actually being in the feeling of health, being in the feeling of wellness, being in the feeling of love is perhaps a more efficient way to pray. In other words, he tells, I think I've told the story on A for 8 before, and certainly Geraldine's heard it several times. It's about the man that he was a First Nations man that he followed to the top of a mountain, who was going there to try to create rain for his community there in the central southwest of the United States. They were in drought for a long time. The First Nations communities were suffering from this drought. Crops were dying, and water for the people to drink was in short supply. And so he got to the top of the mountain where sacred stones had been laid, and he stood inside this, they walked for a long time together. He stood inside this circle of sacred stones for just a couple of minutes, and then turned to Greg Braden and he said, let's go, I'm hungry. He says, I want to get something to eat. So Braden said, well, I thought you came up here to pray for rain. And he said, no, I didn't pray for rain. What I did was I put myself in the feeling that it was raining. And I think there's a very different approach to that, this feeling. He said, I felt the mud between my toes, and I felt and I smelled the smells of the water dripping off the adobe buildings, and I heard the sounds of the rain hitting the roof in our communities. And so I put myself in the feeling of being rained on. And as I did that, I allowed the universe to respond. And so that night, of course, the heavens opened up, and actually there was a weather front that was way farther north, and it actually shifted south, and it moved into these communities where there had been drought for so long, and they had a huge rainstorm, and it was too much, and things were flooded out, and of course everything had been dry, so the rain ran off the surface and created a huge big mess. So Braden called his friend up and he said, now you've got a problem in the other ways. If you got too much water, he says, yeah, I haven't quite figured out that part of the prayer yet. And I just thought that's so cool, because we're on our journey, and we don't get it wrong, but we still have more to do. We're never quite there yet. And I just think that's so wonderful. So how do I talk to people who are very committed to this idea of praying for what they want? And they're not wrong, but lots of times when you pray for what you want, it doesn't show up. And it doesn't show up, I think, because we still haven't figured out how to put ourselves in the feeling of having already what we want. So having love for ourselves, having health, having the body that we want to have, having the feeling of being congruent with our physicality, our health, our wellness, having the wonderful relationship that we have wanted for over and over. We want that over and over for years. Yet we have never, or perhaps we haven't yet learned how to put ourselves in the feeling of already having whatever it is that we want. So this is my idea for today. Perhaps we could do a tapping round on this idea. I'm not sure how to make it happen, but I'm going to just I'm going to take a second of silence and clear my mind. I'm going to clean on this idea, and then I'll start tapping around with whatever idea comes to me, if that's okay with you. Tapping on the karate chop point. Even though I am missing something in my life, I love and accept myself deeply and completely. Even though I feel like something's missing, I choose to be filled with peace and joy. Sometimes I feel there's something missing in my life, and I want to attract whatever is missing to me. Perhaps I can just feel that I already have it. Perhaps I'm standing in the feeling of having what's missing, and I love and accept myself deeply and completely. Top of the head. I have a sense of lack at times, a sense of sadness, a sense of frustration. Oh well, I love and forgive myself anyway. Inside the eye, I have a sense of not being complete. What if I chose to feel complete anyway? To get excited about that sense of completion? What if I chose to feel really, really good about having already accomplished whatever it is that I want? Outside eye. I choose to feel grateful for having achieved already whatever it is that I want. Under the eye. It's as if I've had whatever it is that I want forever and ever. I'm comfortable with it now. It's part of me. And I'm grateful for it. And I love and accept myself deeply and completely. Under the nose. It's a beautiful, wonderful day. I'm grateful for all that I am and all that I have. I am filled with peace and joy. I am free of pain and illness. On the chin, I love you. I'm sorry. On the collarbone, please forgive me. And thank you. And under the arm, I am healthy, happy, and at peace. And I love and accept myself and my 51 trillion cells deeply and completely. It's another beautiful day in downtown Halifax, Nova Scotia. This is Al Rodi. This has been 8 for 8. I hope you take something away from today. I haven't been taking the time to comment on the blog lately, and I'm going to start picking up on that again today. I think it's really useful. Some people have been leaving comments and I haven't been responding over the last 3 or 4 weeks, having found myself distracted with other projects. So I'm going to get back to focusing on responding to your comments, so I invite you to make them. And if there are any suggestions for ideas that you'd like me to think about or talk about, I'd be more than happy to hear them. Thank you for coming. This is Al Rodi. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, and thank you. Have a great week.